Karen isn't feeling too good today, and she is someone who works extremely hard around the clock, constantly sending me and Cindy messages and ideas, and super creative. And so for her to take a day off is like, wow, okay, awesome. She's taking care of herself. And she also trusts Cindy and I to man the station, if you will. So I'm taking over for her show this Friday. She is going to do the Life Purpose the following Friday, so stay tuned for that. But today we are going to talk about the number one technique that if you use this, you will be able to resolve every bad behavior that your kids ever do, no matter what their age is. You will get your kids to do whatever you want them to do, and you will create more love and more appreciation. And if you think you know what I'm going to say, go ahead and type it in the chat, because I'm curious if you know what this technique is that can totally transform your family and your kids. It just eliminates bad behavior. Your kids will do anything you ask them to do when you're doing this, and they just will show you so much love and appreciation every time you do it. Okay.
Can you introduce yourself just a
little
bit?
Sorry, yes, of course. I'm Kristin Shorter. I'm a parent coach, and I have 3 kids. I'm a single mom, and my kids are 9, 11, and 17. So I've went through those teenage years. I'm about to send my daughter off to college, and then my boys are the younger ones. And I have studied human design with Karen Parker for, since 2010. So 8 years, going on 8 years now. And she's taught me pretty much everything I know about parenting. And my kids have also taught me the other half. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And so let's get started. So if you know what the number one technique that just totally eliminates bad behavior, your kids will do anything you ask them to do whenever you're doing it. You're going to create more love, more appreciation, more harmony, cooperation within your family. Type it and let me know if you know what it is. Type it in the chat if you think you know. Nagging. When you nag your kids, they stop doing whatever you want them to do. They listen to you, they obey you, and they love you even more, right? Okay, wrong. That is not right. But we do this all the time, and we think it works, and it really does not work. So nagging actually incentivizes your child to continue the bad behavior. And it decreases the love that they have for you. It makes them avoid you and not want to. When they see you coming around the corner, they run into the room, right? Because, oh my God, my mom's going to ask me to do something else and nag me until I do it. You've heard of the helicopter parenting, the parent that comes back around and makes those rounds. Have you done this yet? When are you going to do it? You said you were going to do it. When are you going to do it? I need to know when you're going to do it. It needs to get done now. It's almost time. Your time's almost up. You have that constant reminding, and that constant nagging does not work. Okay. And so don't stop now. You know it doesn't work. You're probably overwhelmed, which is why you're doing it. And so tell your child that instead of nagging. Say, look, I'm really overwhelmed because of this and that. I really appreciate a deadline for this. But how do you bring out the best in your child so that you don't nag them? Detachment is key. I'm just saying. And I know it's really difficult because as soon as your child is born, you get this immense flood of emotions. You want to care for this child. You love it so much. You want to protect it and provide for it and clothe it and feed it and give your life for this child. You will risk anything for this child, right? So how do you detach from your child? I mean, it's just crazy. You can't do it, right? It's really important that you do. Okay? And the way you're going to do that is you're going to use consequences. You're going to use natural and logical consequences, and we're going to talk about both. Natural consequences are, these are actions that will happen, the cause and the effect, right? This is a thing that will happen naturally without any parental involvement. It means your child is playing in the kitchen and they get close to the stove and they barely touch the stove and they burn their finger a little bit and they're like, oh, that's hot, and they learn. And so the parent doesn't tell them, don't touch the stove. You know, no one tells them anything. They learn it on their own. And this is the best way for true learning to take place. Now, logical consequences, these are consequences that are arranged by parents or other adults, and they mirror natural consequences as closely as possible. And so, for example, if you want to show your child that the stove is hot, you might put your hand over the hot burner until it gets really warm, and then have your child touch your hand. That'll show them, oh, that is hot, right? Or if your child leaves toys out for mama to pick up, the next time the child wants to play with the toys, they're not available. For logical consequences to be effective, detachment is key. The child must experience a little discomfort. It has to be logical. It has to mirror natural consequences as much as possible. So, for example, if your child makes a huge mess and they don't pick it up, and then they can't watch TV, they don't understand how 1 + 1 is 2. They're like, hey, 1 + A = square. I don't get it, right? You want it to mirror logical consequences as much as possible. And so logical consequences, in order for them to work, there's a few ground rules, okay? You want to express the reality of a social order and not of the person. What do I mean by that? You want to establish rules that are acceptable in society or in your family, things that we live by, say things that, you know, you're not just completely making up. But like, for example, time. If you are late to work, you don't get paid for that time, or you have to stay and make that up. That is a logical consequence. Or if you cook breakfast and your child is late to breakfast, they don't get to eat. They go to school without eating, or they have to eat the school cafeteria food. That is a logical consequence. You are not lording your authority over your child and, I'm older than you, so I'm wiser than you, and I'm more experienced than you, so you have to listen to me. That will not work, okay? And it's a hindering on the nagging, right? When you are using logical consequences, the consequences related to the misbehavior. When you're using punishment, the behavior isn't related to the consequence. And so you want to be really cognizant of that. For example, your child has to see the connection between what they did and their behavior rather than that of others. So let me give you an example. If you have two kids fighting on a playground and the teacher says, all right, y'all are fighting, y'all go sit out for the rest of recess. They are not thinking about their behavior, about them fighting. They're thinking about the other. They're thinking about what the teacher made them do, and they're becoming disgruntled and discouraged, right? Whereas if a teacher were to say, hey guys, fighting isn't allowed, go sit out until you're ready to play and stop fighting. Okay? Logical consequences don't judge and they don't criticize, but punishment usually does. A child's desire to get recognized and get attention is stronger than their desire to conform. And so if you're judging a child saying, oh, fighting's so wrong, you should never fight, you could hurt someone, it's so violent, and you're telling them how bad their behavior is, it doesn't really correct the behavior. When you're using logical consequences saying, hey, you're going to sit here until you choose to come play and change your behavior, then they are focused on what you want them to do, right? You want them to play, to be kind, to stop fighting. Logical consequences focus on the outcome you want, and punishment will focus on the past. So, for example, if they're fighting and they sit out all recess because of what they did, because of them fighting, they are focused on the past. Well, if you want them to focus on a new behavior, the behavior you want them to emulate, give that choice to them. And they know now that you've given them a choice, oh, you're going to sit here until you go play, then you can stop sitting there and go play. Now they have a choice. They're in control. They get to choose what to do and they're focused on themselves instead of saying, oh, the teacher's making me do this or making me do that. They actually get to focus on what they want to do. Okay, do I want to keep sitting here? This is kind of boring. All right, I'm over it now. Let's go play. Okay, and whenever you are using logical consequences, you can avoid bribing your child, right, with rewards and patronizing them with, for good behavior, or retaliating, and punishing them. Whenever you're using logical consequences, detachment is key. So you're going to use a friendly voice. Typically, whenever you're punishing a child, there's a lot of anger in your voice. And that is the quickest way to shut a child down. I mean, think about it. Whenever you're angry, whenever someone's talking to you in an angry tone, you start shutting down, right? And if you're not genuinely friendly with the child or genuinely detached, if you're feeling threatened, if you're feeling defeated, overwhelmed, then the consequence isn't going to work. You're ready to go to battle, right? You're ready to go fight it out and and punish them. The point of the logical consequence is you want to make this your child's problem, not yours. It's hard whenever you are designed naturally, biologically, to have all these hormones to totally care and protect and clothe and instill values and attach to this being, right? To get it, to let it live into adulthood and beyond, right? It's hard to detach. And a lot of times parents don't want their kids to have any problems. We want to do it for them. We want our kids to have an easier life than we had. And that's not always a good idea. I mean, of course, if there was any traumatic things that happened in your childhood, of course you want your child to have a better life than yours, but a little struggle is okay. Challenges are important. They build self-esteem. They build awareness. They give the child courage. They give the child intelligence. It lets them become more independent, more wise. And when they have that knowledge within them, they can share it with their friends, with other people. And so those experiences are so key and so important. And when it is your child's problem that they're not picking up, that they're facing a consequence, then you can totally detach from what outcome, and you can watch your child. You can see what they're going to choose. And whenever you see them making choices and learning from those experiences, you as a parent develop more trust in your child. And as you develop more trust in your child, you subconsciously or subliminally have higher expectations, and your children rise to those expectations. And then your children become even more independent, even more aware, even more intelligent, and they handle challenges and struggles confidently, courageously, skillfully. And so it's so important for your child to face problems. And you also want your child to come to you when they have a problem. They may never want your advice. I mean, my kids don't want my advice, but my kids love talking to me. They love telling me what their problem is or what's going on with them, because they know I will listen and I won't give them advice because I implicitly trust them. And I know when my child's making a mistake. I mean, come on, you do too, right? You know when your child is going to make the wrong choice, But when you have complete confidence that your child will make, no matter what path they go down, are responsible, will take responsibility, then it doesn't matter. The problem is an experience that you're looking forward and excited for them to have. You know, my daughter, who's 17, one of her first serious relationships, I was not really impressed by. I was not really excited by it. But what I was excited is that she got to experience some of that heartache and a lot of that drama while she was young, before she, shared living spaces with her partner, before she shared money, with them, before she got married. She got to see what she didn't like, and her next relationships are going to be that much better because she understands, oh, I didn't like these experiences that I had in this relationship, and so I want to have better experiences over here. And I even told her, look, I'm excited for you. I know that you're not, these things are happening, but I know that you can face them. I know that you're going to deal with them. I know that you're going to figure it out. I implicitly trust you, and I have your back if you need me. She didn't. I have advice if you want it. She didn't want it. But that didn't, just because I wasn't giving her advice didn't mean that I didn't trust her, or that if she didn't have my advice, she was going to do something bad or wrong or wouldn't be able to get out of it. No, she totally handled it. She ended the relationship, and it took a while for her to end it, and she experienced that too. And she, in her next relationship, she can figure out, well, next time I'm going to end it this way instead of dragging it out, right? How many of us have done that? Teaching your child to take responsibility. That's what logical consequences do. Whenever your child understands that they need to change their behavior, instead of being incentivized to change their behavior, by giving them a reward or by giving them a compliment, you're teaching your child, oh, I will behave this way in order for people to give me praise, in order for people to give me recognition and attention. And we all learn that, right? But you also want to teach your child that that you want their decisions to come from within. And those decisions that come from intrinsically actually feel better than the ones that are external, because the external ones don't always live up to the hype. You don't always get the attention you want, or the kind of attention you want, or the amount of attention you want, right? No, you don't. But whenever you're making decisions from within that are correct for you, there's this peace, there's this confidence, there's this skill, and you just go out and do it, and you don't need anyone else, and you're not waiting on anyone else to give you anything. You have everything you need. And you can teach that to your child, and teach your child how to be responsible. Whenever they are making their own decisions, they will learn responsibility. Whenever they're being incentivized to make decisions, how will they learn to be responsible? You're going to tell them you need to be responsible. Show me. Let them experience it. With consequences, discomfort is okay. And it's actually normal. How many times do we feel a little discomfort throughout the day? Think about it. Every time you have to use the restroom, you get a little pressure, you get a little discomfort. And it gives you a message, and that message is, go use the restroom or go eat, right? You want your child to feel discomfort, not discouragement. And when you're using punishment, your child often doesn't think about what behavior they now want to change. They're thinking about how they want to get back at their mom or dad or teacher, right? They're thinking, okay, my mom took this away from me. Well, I'm going to go hide her ring, her jewelry, And whenever she's looking for it, she's not going to be able to find it. You don't want to encourage that behavior. You don't also want to make your child feel guilty or ashamed or unlovable or bitter, right? That's not what you want to bring out. You want to bring out the best in your child. And so understand that discomfort is okay. Telling your child, okay, you need to sit out here until you're ready to follow the rules. It's totally their choice. And they get to choose. And whenever they're done feeling discomfort, then they will go and feel happy and do whatever they want to do that's appropriate within the guidelines that you've set, or the boundaries for the school they're in, or the home that they live in, right? And so don't be afraid to let your child feel discomfort. That is normal, and that actually propels them to take action that will relieve them, action that will encourage them and make them more wise, aware, and skillful. They're going to make mistakes, and that's awesome, right? Because you're going to teach them to learn from those mistakes. They're not going to understand failure means quitting, right? They're going to understand, oh, that didn't work. Let's try something else. What else can we try? Right? Okay, so here's a really big one. We've got to avoid telling I told you so. I love that word. I love that phrase. I told you so. And I could not wait until I was a parent and I got to actually say those words, right? Because I heard them growing up. I told you so. And I just couldn't wait until I could tell my kids I told you so. And it really doesn't feel that good when you tell it. You can just feel and hear your child shutting down whenever you tell them I told you so. And that communication bond starting to deteriorate because they're like, oh, she wants to blame and judge and criticize. No one likes that. That's not comfortable for anyone. And it doesn't teach them anything. So instead of telling them, I told you so, let your child have the last word. Right? That's really hard to do initially. But when you let your child have the last word, you teach your child how to have the last word, right? If your child is saying something mean and ugly and then that's it, it doesn't feel good and they walk away with that. And if you let them have the last word, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back to you and make amends for that in some way. They're going to want to restore that relationship. Because it doesn't feel good being ugly to other people, right? It doesn't feel good bossing them around and telling them I told you so. You think it does, but when you're actually in the moment, it doesn't. And whenever you see your child shutting down or your child says something ugly to you and they feel you shutting down, they are on the other side of that energetic exchange. They understand, okay, you don't say those things, right? And they learn from that experience. And then they take responsibility and come back to you and talk to you and apologize for that, or kind of, come back and say something nice to you in order to make amends for that and heal that communication that was broken. There's going to be times when your children are going to test you, and especially when you're doing something new. When you're doing something new, your children are going to they want to believe that it's true, right? Seeing is believing, right? Well, if they see mom starting to do logical consequences, they are going to test you. So for example, if your kids are making messes in the living room with their toys, and you tell them, okay, you give the next time that your kids are playing with their toys and they're all out everywhere, you go and you clean up their toys because they didn't. They go to bed, they're sleeping, you come out, you put their toys up. You put them in a box and they don't know where their toys are. And the next time that they want to play with their toys, you can just tell them, well, you left your toys out and you didn't pick them up. And I don't have time to pick them up. Your brother, your sister, your dad doesn't have time to pick them up. So because you can't pick them up, you can't play with them. And letting them feel that discomfort, that boredom of not having their toys or not being able to share their toys with their friends or show off their toys with their friends, there's going to be some discomfort there. And then after a certain time that is developmentally appropriate, that's age appropriate, you let them have their toys back on the premise that they will pick up their toys. And guess what? You won't have to remind your child to pick up their toys. You won't have to be that helicopter parent that's circling back and asking, every 5 to 10 minutes, have you picked up your toys yet? Are your toys picked up? I still see a toy over here. You need to do this. You forgot a toy here, and that is that nagging. That does not work. It breaks that love and appreciation bond that you have with your child. And they're actually incentivized to keep doing that behavior, that bad behavior over and over again that annoys you and frustrates you and irritates you, because they are getting something from it. They're getting your attention. They're getting you. And they are more inclined to get attention and recognition than to conform. And so they're not going to just do whatever you want them to do if they're getting something out of it, right? They're going to, hey, I want mom's attention. And even though it's not the best attention, or it's not the amount of attention I want, I still get it. So why should I quit? Why should I pick up my toys, right? And while that testing period is going on, you've got to remain friendly. This isn't about judging them. It's not about punishing them. It's not about, I told you so, right? No, it's just frankly, I don't have time to pick up your toys, and you didn't pick them up, so you can't play with your toys for a couple of days. And the next time they leave them out, if they leave them out, then you pick them up and you put them up, and you keep them for a little bit longer. So if you kept them for 2 days, now you're going to keep them for 5, right? And that is going to show your child that you are serious, that you're not doing this to be mean or to blame them. You're going to totally allow your child to choose. Your child will now choose to pick up their toys without you telling them, because they want their toys, right? And so my daughter, whenever she first got a cell phone, she was older than her friends. And so her first cell phone was this very cheap, rinky-dinky cell phone. And it was a flip phone, which was so embarrassing for her to have, right? It wasn't the cool phones, the touchpad that we have now. And I told her, if you can keep this phone for a year, you don't lose it, it doesn't get stolen, you don't let your friends use it, you don't run up the minutes, then next year you're going to be able to choose what phone you want. And that was it. And that whole year, she never lost her phone. She never let her friends use her phone, rarely. She kept an eye on her minutes. She said she was so embarrassed of the phone, she never brought it out to use because she always got made fun of. But that was her time to prove that she was responsible. And then whenever she got, the newest iPhone, she kept track of her minutes. She didn't spend a whole bunch of money buying songs or, going over her data. She knew when to let her friends use her phone and when not to let her friends use her phone, and how to take care of her phone, keep it with her and not lose it. And so, set up those testing periods for your child, whatever's appropriate, whatever's depending on their age, depending on where they are developmentally. You want to be able to let them experience struggle. I wanted that phone because it was like, I don't know, $10 a month or something, and the phone was free. I wanted that phone because if anything happened to that phone, I wouldn't care as much as if something happened to an iPhone. That's really expensive, right? If something happened to that little rinky-dinky phone, I would be like, okay, you can learn from it, and I wouldn't be attached to what happened. I would allow her to feel the discomfort and go through that experience, and I would be there without judging her, criticizing her, blaming her, right? And so set up those testing periods for your child. And I just want to check in real quick. Cindy, do we have any questions or any comments?
Well, Nina's been commenting and, agreeing with what you're saying, and give the children their choices and rewards. She talks about cause and effects and give them 2 choices for them to choose. They usually choose the one which they see the outcomes, the skills, rewards, praise, and help.
Awesome.
And, she also says, in response, she said one of the questions she might ask her children is, what did you learn from that?
Oh, that's a great question. And when you are asking that question with curiosity and, love and excitement, a little like, oh my God, what did you learn from that? Your child is really going to open up and learn something from it instead of, well, what did you learn from that? You're going to have a very different response from your child, and your child may not be as open to actually learning something from that because it's that I told you so tone and your voice. And so you want to be really encouraging with your child. You want to be kind and firm. Whenever you're kind to your child, you're respecting them. Whenever you're firm with your child and you're not going back on your word or saying or giving into them, you're respecting yourself. And are there any other comments on Facebook, Cindy?
No. Nope, no other questions. You have some
awesome,
really good, hearts on Facebook, but no comments or questions yet.
Awesome. So remember, parenting is a skill that needs to be updated from time to time. And I'm going to be teaching a class on this coming Wednesday, the next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And this parenting class will be tailored to your child. Every child is different. Every child is unique. There is no one-size-fits-all parenting, right? Whenever you're laying out these consequences, the choices that you create for your child are going to be unique for that child, unique for you and your family, your culture, your customs, your values, right? But you want to build it on their self-esteem, right? That's going to be so key. When your child is confident and has the esteem, they don't care about making mistakes. They don't see it as failure. They see it as experiments. My son, he told me when he was a little kid that he wanted to be a scientist. And so I'm always asking, what experiments did you have today? There are no failures when you're a scientist, right? There's only learning what happens when you do this and this, right? And when your child has the esteem to go out and experiment, and they don't see it as a mistake, they're constantly learning and growing. They're becoming more aware, more skillful, and they can take what they've learned and share it with their friends. And that's a great way for peers to get recognition. In the parenting class, we're going to talk about how to completely eliminate power struggles. There's no reason to have a power struggle when you're using consequences, when you're talking in a friendly tone, when you're not lording your authority over your child, when you're allowing your child a choice to choose what they want to do, and you're focused on the outcome of the choices you want your child to make instead of the past behavior that they've done. You're not judging, you're not criticizing. And then your child just gets to choose, and that's it. And there's no I told you so involved, right? There's just, okay, I'm ready to choose again. I'm ready to choose again. And then they keep choosing until they find a choice that really jives with them and it fits and it's fun, and they can go out and share what they've learned from that.
Before you go on, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Some wonderful comments here. You're amazing teaching your children how to be independent and confident. From Lisa, and Rebecca says, I wish I had this insight when I was raising my children. So awesome. My question is, when you're teaching, when you're listening or giving them consequences, does it make a difference what their human design energetic profile is? I mean, does their human design make a difference? And would you be covering that in your class? I mean,
in my class, I am going to be using human design, your child's human design chart, because every child is different. And whenever you can look at your child's human design chart, you can understand their personality, their energetic makeup. And so if you're giving your child choices, you first want to understand why they are having that behavior. My last webinar, we talked about asking the question, what's going on with my child for them to be behaving this way? And whenever you can understand, oh, I get it, I understand the root cause of this behavior, now you can make choices. You can give them choices based on why they're making that behavior, why they're choosing that behavior. And what have my kids gotten out of this behavior in the past? You know, have they gotten my attention? Did they get my affection? You know, what are they getting out of it? And whenever you know with your child's human design chart, you can proactively understand what their needs are and proactively show them how to meet those needs and spend that one-on-one quality time with your child where you are totally filling their cup up with love and just total attention. They have your undivided attention. They feel heard. They feel seen. You've completely listened to them. They feel confident, and then they go out and they share that with their with other siblings or with their friends, and they go get their attention needs met from their friends in a way that they have learned from you giving them that positive quality attention. And when you have your child's human design chart, you're going to know, okay, my child needs this choice. My child needs to be talked to in this way. A lot of,
yeah, as you're going, because you're always, is there, and this is just from seeing different children, are there children or is there something in the human design chart where giving them too many choices or some children just can't deal with choices at all? I mean, it might become too intense where you'd have to do it a different way. I mean, it might put them just where it might be so intense. It's like, oh gosh, I can't. Yeah. I want to say this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a certain, like, based on your your child's human design chart, there's a certain way to talk to them. Some human design types need to be asked questions and yes or no questions. Other human design types need to be asked open-ended questions. And there's one specific human design type, my son is this, where you don't ask them questions. That actually interferes with them being able to communicate and choose in a way that's correct for them. And because we know this about our family, we know that we don't ask brother questions, or we call him brother, his name's Vaughn. And we ask Emerson open-ended questions. And whenever we ask these questions or give choices, one son will need to talk about it. He will need to go over the choices with me. He's very analytical. He has a lot of, we call him the scientist, you know, he needs to talk about it and go through this and go through that and make the best choice possible. And he needs time to make that choice. He may not make it right away. He can go days without getting his stuff back. Okay. You know, he has willpower, but he actually has this emotional energy that has the cycle. And depending where he is on that cycle, he can hold onto some emotional energy, and that is correct for him. He's designed to do that. It's not something that I need to change about him. And that's why this class is tailored to your child, what their unique personality traits are. And when you are aware of those things, you can tailor a child's choices. And even if you don't know the child, say you're having a birthday party and there's a whole bunch of kids here, you don't have to know someone's human design chart. You can just tell them, okay, these are the rules. If you don't follow these rules, you sit on the bench until you want to follow the rules, and then y'all can go play in the moonwalk again. Or everyone eats cake outside. If you eat cake inside, you're going to be cleaning the floor, right? You know, you're going to, you know, who wants them off the floor? Who loves doing chores? Who loves mopping the floor? No kid is going to raise their hand and say, okay, then where do y'all need to eat? Outside. Okay, so you know what I mean? There's ways to do it really simplistic, but whenever you know your child's human design chart, you can tailor it to them. You can share the information with your family, and you can all cooperate. Whenever your child understands you and you understand your child, imagine how deeper you can bond with that child and how much more love and appreciation can be expressed because you're tailoring your experiences and your language to them specifically.
Well, thank you. That answered my question.
Awesome. And whenever your child has choices, they are self-motivated to make those choices, and you're not judging their choice. You're not saying, well, you know what choice you need to make. You know, you're not incentivizing them or rewarding them. Well, like, if you make this choice, you get a cookie. You know, you're not doing that. They are totally making that choice from an intrinsic power that they're able to tap into, and it motivates them, and they do it over and over and over again, and they develop discipline without it being hard. And they create their own reward that drives them and moves them, and they don't let other people take that away from them by giving them a reward, right? They understand, okay, I know how to get attention. I can ask for attention. My son, who's a projector type in human design, sometimes he gets ignored easily. And so he will come up to his brother and say, hey, do you want to play with me right now? And his brother might say, no. Then he knows, okay. Then he goes to his sister. Hey, sis, do you want to hang out with me right now? No. Okay. Comes to mom. Do you want to hang out with me right now? No. Then he goes and plays by himself. He doesn't feel judged. He doesn't feel criticized. He doesn't feel like, oh, man, no one wants to play with me. Why doesn't anyone want to play with me? He doesn't go there because he knows there's nothing, there's no judgment around it. There's no reward. I'm not paying my kids to hang out with each other, and they're getting money for it. You know, it's just like, oh, there's no negativity attached to it, no emotion attached to it. It's just a decision that a kid's making. And then whenever they don't take it personally, that's what I want to say. He's not taking it personally. And whenever he's not taking it personally, he goes to school, and maybe some kids don't want to play with him on the playground. He knows what to do. He'll go on the swing by himself, and he doesn't feel excluded. It doesn't interfere with his self-esteem, and he doesn't get forced into peer pressure doing things that maybe he doesn't want to do, but he does in order to be cool, because he has that intrinsic value and he's self-motivated. And so whenever your child has that confidence and that esteem, they know how to sidestep power struggles between their friends because they do it. In their family, you know, you've taught them how to do that. One of the things that I'm going to be teaching in the class is whenever you're in a really big power struggle and you can't seem to get out of it, there's this amazing technique that you can do. And it takes a little bit of time to do it, but my kids, when they do it, now they just zap right through it. And what you do is you write down every consequence. You write down, okay, if this doesn't happen, what is going to happen? Or say my boys, whenever they are sharing Pokemon cards, they say, yes, you can use my Pokemon cards, but if you lose them, what will be the consequence? And so then they write down, or you're grounded for 2 weeks. And the goal is whatever they say, you write it down. If it's not related to the Pokemon cards, it doesn't matter. You write everything down, because whenever you start saying no, 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 then it kind of shuts off that creativity that kids have. And so my boys will just write anything down. Nothing happens to them. They're grounded, you know, for a year. This Pokemon's really important. So if you lose it, I'm going to put down here that you're grounded for a year. You owe me $100. They just write it down. And then they go through together. And they cross off this one, and they cross off that one. They cross off this one. They cross off that one until they have 1, maybe 2 things left. And if they agree on that, they circle it and they write their name underneath it. And then if that happens, if they lose that Pokemon card, if they don't take care of it, it gets ripped or it gets stolen or something while it's in that other brother's possession, they know exactly what's going to happen. That consequence has been agreed and set forth, and they sign their name, and then it happens. And I don't have to force them. They don't have to force each other. They don't have to say, all right, now you have to owe me this now, because they've already agreed to it, and they've already come up with the idea before it's happened. They will follow through. And that is what's going to be key to working out those really big power struggles and we started doing that with some other things, but now we use it for little things like that. I mean, Pokemon cards aren't really a big thing, but to your kids, they might be, right? And so now my kids, what they can do very quickly is just say, oh, this is what we used last time. Do you still agree to this? Yes, yes, write it down, write their names, and that's it. And it works like a charm. And they are coming up with the consequences, and they are following those consequences because they thought of it. They agreed to it. And it's between them. I stay out of it. I have nothing to do with it. I'm not lording my authority and enforcing a rule or making sure they have good character and integrity and they're honest, and they're trustworthy, dependable kids. They do that because they've been self-motivated to do that because they have learned how to have conversations, how to make agreements, how to keep their word, what's going to happen if they don't keep their word. They've talked about that and they've thought that out. And so when your kids know how to do that with their friends, a lot of friends will come over and say, hey, can I borrow your air pump? Can I borrow your skateboard? Well, my son will say, yes, when you're done, put it back in the garage. And if you don't put it back in the garage, what is going to happen? And then the kid will say, well, then I won't be able to use it next time. And my son says, okay. And immediately in 2 seconds, they've agreed to what will happen if they don't put, those toys back in the garage. And then the next time the kid comes and asks for it, my kids say no, because you didn't put it back in the garage. And the kid's like, okay, and that's it. The kid doesn't nag him. He accepts that consequence because he created it, he agreed to it. And that is so easy to parent your kids whenever they are part of the process, whenever they understand these techniques and they're using them. And it's so easy to follow. You're not having to enforce anything because they're creating it and they understand how to sidestep this power struggle. So let's all agree on something. And then and if we don't keep our agreement, what's going to happen, right? And because they've agreed to it, easy peasy. Being a parent is so much more enjoyable and calmer, and there's more cooperation. And you don't have to beg your kid to do something. You don't have to scream at them and nag them, right? And so that's why this class, Parenting by Human Design, will bring out the best in your child. And there's tons of techniques that we're going to be talking about and using. That's just one of them. And so the class is $497. But through Sunday at midnight, March 18th, I have lowered the price to $247. And I will be sending out an email with these slides. You'll get the replay of today's recording, and you'll get the link to the class.
So what if they're not on the email list? Say they're just watching on the Facebook page.
If y'all are watching on Facebook, it's also going to be posted there. And you'll be able to check out the class, and you will still be able to get the early bird special. And again, class starts on Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central Time.
And that is a lot of great information. Thank you.
Awesome.
Any other questions right now I'm double checking Facebook again as I refresh the page. But no, I'm not seeing any other questions. And thank everybody that came in as an attendee with the nice comments and everything.
Yes, and remember, Karen will be doing her life purpose class the following Friday.
A week from today.
A week from today, yes. Thank you, Cindy. All right, everyone, thank y'all so much. If any questions come up later, after you watch this, go to the Facebook page and post them there. I'll be checking that. I'll follow up with you and make sure that all your questions get answered. So thank y'all so much. Bye.